everyone, welcome back to the 2018 Granny Square Crochet Along. Today we are making this cute Santa hat, Christmassy hat here. It is, you probably recognise it, it is related to this square, the Christmas tree square. So we make it in the same way in that we make our triangle, and then we make the square, and when we get to a certain row we make those stitches along the triangle as well. Difference being with this one I forgot, and so I just sewed my hat actually on top afterwards, which is totally fine. I just sewed into the back loops so you couldn't see the stitching. And then instead of making any tree decorations, we are making a pom-pommy hat. Oh, and on the triangle, obviously we're making it different colour, and we've just got this white fluffy bit at the bottom. So that's what we're doing today. So before this tutorial, what I'm going to do on this video is talk to you about how to make the triangle, including this row here, and when to change colour, and I'm going to show you how to make the pom-pom. But then to attach it to your square and to make the square, you will need to watch the video of number 349, the Christmas tree square, and I will pop a link in the description below to that video. So watch this video for the triangle and the pom-pom, and then flip over to the video for this square, and it will show you how to make the square and how to attach your triangle onto the square. Okay, so grab your hook yarn, scissors and needle, and a cup of tea or coffee, and let's get started. Okay, to start the triangle for our hat, we are going to chain 2, and then in that second chain from the hook we are going to do 2 single crochets. So this is row 1 and it has 2 stitches. Chain 1, turn this around and do a single crochet in the first stitch and 2 single crochets in that second stitch. You might need to just turn it over slightly to get the front of that stitch. Sometimes it just curls over the top. So 2 single crochets in that last stitch. So that's row 2, and we now have 3 stitches. So again, chain 1, turn your work, do a single crochet in the first stitch and the next stitch, and 2 in the last stitch. So this is row 3, and we now have 4 stitches. So note that there's always one more stitch on the row than the number of the row. So row 3 is 4 stitches. So the next row, row 4, will have 5 stitches. So chain 1, turn your work around, do 1 single crochet in the first 3 stitches, and then 2 in the next or last stitch. So row 4, and you have 5 stitches now, and a very little tiny triangle. So what you're going to do is continue to work up to row 12, including row 12, and you will have 13 stitches along your triangle. So keep doing this. Chain 1, turn your work, 1 single crochet into each stitch and 2 into the last stitch. So keep going until you have 13 stitches along your row, and then I will meet you back to finish off the last 2 rows. So here we go, here's my triangle now, with 13 stitches along and 12 rows. Okay, but single crochet is quite hard to count the rows, so it's easier to just count the number of stitches. So there's 13 stitches. I haven't done the last chain 1, because what we're going to do is actually we're going to join some white yarn for the white edge along the Santa hat. So what you want to do is just undo the last loop of that last single crochet, And if you finish this last stitch with your white yarn, if you can find the end, so if you just finish it with that white yarn, it could be a little bit fiddly, but just pull that yarn through and pull that down a bit, and then we can chop that colour off when we've secured it more. So chain one, turn your work around, and then you're going to do exactly the same for the last 2 rows. So you're going to do exactly as you have done, but just working with your white yarn to make that nice white edge on that Santa hat. So I'm going to leave you to do these last 2 rows, and then once you feel that this is secure, you can cut off your red yarn, and there we go. So do these last 2 rows and I'll see you when I've finished. Okay, so I have my hat attached to the square, and if you have watched the video for the Christmas tree square, you will have seen how to attach it on there, and how to make your background square. I actually forgot to attach mine while I was making the square, so I've just sewn it on now. I've just sewn it along that row there, because I forgot to include it in making up my square. So the only thing that's left is to attach the top of the hat, so you can see where that hat's going to come to, and you just sew it to that row that it meets. So you need to do that just as per sewing the Christmas tree. Just do it exactly the same way. And the only thing left is to make the pom-pom. So I'm going to show you an easy way to make a pom-pom. Okay, so first of all you want to have a length of yarn, and I always cut too big, bigger than I need. So you need a piece of yarn, and then you can either, because we only want a small pom-pom just for the top of this hat, so just to make Santa's bobble. So now you can either use a fork and wrap it around the prongs of a fork, but I'm going to use my fingers. You probably remember from childhood of using 2 discs of card, and you wrap it around that kind of ring shape, and it takes forever. This way is nice and simple, and I just, for a tiny pom-pom for here, I'm just going to use 2 fingers. If I wanted bigger, I would use 3 fingers, but I just want a nice small one, so I'm just going to use 2 fingers. So what I'm going to do, first of all, is this piece of yarn here, I'm going to pop between my fingers, okay? Pop that between my fingers so it hangs down like so, okay? Can you see it's hanging down there like so? Okay, and then just keep that there, and then I'm going to get the yarn that I'm using over those 2 fingers, and then I'm just going to start wrapping it around. I'm going to count about 30 to 40 times, okay? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, that's about 37. It looks quite chunky. Just don't do it too tightly that you cut off your circulation, okay? And then I'm just going to cut this yarn, pop that aside, and then this piece that I have in between my fingers. Now, if you were using a fork, you would be wrapping this around the prongs of the fork, and this piece of yarn you would have between the prongs of the fork, okay? And then all you're going to do is bring it up. Make sure that piece is tucked under. Bring this up, and then you might want to grab someone to help you, or just, you know, work it out yourself, and tie a knot. Okay, so you want to tie a knot between your fingers. You are tying a knot, okay? And then once you've got it around, once you've got that knot tied loosely, pull the right piece of yarn. Don't worry that this piece has come a bit longer, that's okay. I'll just cut that off so it's not hanging. Okay, so once you've got this pulled fairly tightly, you can just slip it off your fingers and then pull it extra tight. Okay, nice and tight, nice and tight. And then make a second knot there. You want that to be as tight as possible. Okay, there we go. And then you want to keep at least one piece of this yarn for sewing on. Don't cut it all short. And then all you're going to do, in fact I'm not convinced this is tight enough, so I'm just going to wrap it around this middle once more and then tie. Okay, so make sure nice and tight. There we go. Okay, there we go. And then all you need to do is take your scissors, some nice sharp scissors, and where these loops are and where it was wrapped around, you just want to cut those to open it up. Okay, just cut those, make sure they're all cut. So go around, cut all of those loops open, and then I'll see you when I've got all of mine cut open. Okay, so I've cut all of those loops, but it looks a bit of a mess, doesn't it? It looks a bit shaggy. So all you want to do is go around and trim it up and make it just a bit neater. And if you like, you can just sort of hold it down and then go around, just give it a haircut, just go around, make them all roughly the same length, and make it nice and round. Just trim. I quite like doing this part actually, and just make sure that you're doing it over the top of a bin or on some paper, because to clear up all of these ends is a bit of a nightmare. If you just do it onto the table, you will regret it. So just onto a piece of paper that you can then pop over the bin when you're done. So just trim all these around to make it nice and neat, and all about the same size. Okay, and then when you're happy with it, I'm just going to give mine a bit more of a trim up, and then I'll show you the finished result. Okay, now when you're happy with, you think you've cut it neat enough, then just give it a fluff. Literally just fluff it with your hands. And then I'm going to move these trimmings away, and then just roll it in your hand. Just to fluff it nicely. And there we go. So it could probably, you might want to work on it until you're really, really happy with it. And obviously how many times you wrap it around your fingers or the fork will determine just how full this is and how puffy it is. So you could just keep going, trimming it until you're totally, totally happy. And then just, like I said, just keep rolling it to make it... Oops, there go my scissors on the floor. Just keep rolling it until you're completely happy with it and how fluffy it is and how rounded it is. Obviously just rolling my yarn in there and then just give it a shake. There we go. So the only thing left to do with this is to sew it on to the top of your hat. There we go. Gorgeous. So I'm going to pick up my scissors from the floor and I'm going to sew this all together, and then I'll show you it at the end. And there we go, all completed with its little pom-pom. So I love this square, and I think it's a perfect addition to the triangular Christmas tree. They go so lovely together, and as you can see I've just alternated the colours. I had green in the centre and red on the outside, now I've got red in the centre and green on the outside, so it's just kind of mixing them up a bit. I hope you found this useful and helpful, and that you've enjoyed crocheting along with me again. It's always a pleasure to come and crochet with you. So if you have found this useful and helpful and you've enjoyed it, then please click that like button and give us a thumbs up. And I can't wait to see your photos in our Facebook group as always. So until next time, just keep hooking and don't let your tea get cold.